probably memorized them by now.
No.
I know, I'm joking. I haven't memorized them in 47 years. That's bad. That's very bad.
You on, Tony?
7 o'clock? Good evening, this is the Tibet Center, Kunchap Tardu Ling, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma. Specifically, we're dealing with this book, The Stages of the Path, Dalai Lama's most recent book. And it's written from the point of view of secular ethics. In other words, there's no particular religious point of view, and it's just the wisdom of Buddhism melted down to what you can, what you can handle without being overly doctrinaire, excuse me. All the prayers we say are on our website in the FAQ section. Scroll down to prayers. If there's anyone who's ill you want us to pray for, put their names in the chat box. Anyone who passed away, put their names in the chat box as early as possible, so when we say the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels, everyone will see their names and we will remember them. So we'll start. Prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish this flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight. Thank you, buddy. How are you? No quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayat Om Gate Para Sam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. So now, refuge and bodhisattva vow, which appears under the heading of generating bodhicitta. We recite these 3 verses 3 times each. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So we had a cameo appearance by Buddy the house cat here in New Jersey. He's very clever. He's heard a lot of teachings. In the next life, that'll benefit him. This life, he's being an annoyance to all of us, but he keeps things under control here. We're on the chapter, of course I dropped the page. Yeah, I know, but I'm going to skip ahead to the chapter on science, because there's something to do a little meditation about, a few lines. There it is, okay. His main point here is that the scientists have come to the same conclusion. And the main, I'll paraphrase it rather than look at it has been agreed on, Buddhists and scientists, it's both, that the quality of our thoughts affects our physical happiness. Our mental thoughts affect our physical well-being. Why, I don't know, but they're working on it. They're trying, because the scientists are approaching it just from cause and effect. This does that. That it seems to be that people who are meditators have better health. So that's something to think about among ourselves. And he's saying also that our happiness, prayer cannot create happiness. Implementation is needed, and that primarily comes by way of inner feelings. Again, our thoughts. So it's something to think about. So when you're studying, you're not wasting your time. You're enhancing your mental health. Okay. I'll mark the page. Yeah. Smile. I have 46. You have something else? What'd you say? I have, no, actually 48. We left on there. I squeezed in a few more. So page 48, mid-page a little lower, it starts with always having feelings of closeness to others. I'll do the lead paragraphs before that. Not only in times of difficulty and suffering, but at all times, having someone you can turn to and who will nurture you with love and affection is of great help, whereas those who are angry and thoughtless bring nothing but detriment. Such a self-evident truth is a clear indication of the need to have love and affection for people. And starts the new. Always having feelings of closeness to others and maintaining a loving mind is the sole foundation for building everything we wished for. Focusing on small differences in outer appearances to divide and discriminate is nothing but ignorant. So you go to the core of what's important. In particular, it's often said that the world is becoming small, and from the 20th century onward, the people of this world have almost become a single community, which is true, especially with the countries that emit extra pollution. Everybody's affected. It's the jet stream, it goes all over the place. If you remember last year or the year before, I forget. One of the, if you remember, but I don't. The wildfires out west were giving us haze and everything here, 3,000 miles away. There's a unity that's in place. And our minds have created the distance, the natural ability among humans. We're all the same. The techniques of meditation that improve the mind work all over the world. They work in terms of 2,000 years ago or today. So there's something to be thought about there, which should give us confidence, because techniques exist to give us lasting, permanent happiness. And these techniques also cause us to evolve to what we should be, immortal, omniscient, happy Buddhas. So that's within our psychic DNA, I don't know, something like that. We have the ability to clear the veils over our consciousness and become fully developed, fully evolved. So that's it. In particular, it's often said that the world is becoming small, la 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 la. If we want to protect our home, each of us must possess a sense of universal responsibility. Yes, because everyone affects everyone else. On the very subtle levels, you have to be a high yogi to see how this is happening. But on a very gross level, we can see who pollutes, causes everybody else problems, who steals, who squanders resources, causes everyone problems. We can go on, but we won't. We'll go by the book. This little planet where we humans live is our only home. If we want to protect our home, each of us must possess a sense of universal responsibility, banging that point home. This alone has the power to negate inconducive traits such as selfishness, deceiving others, abuse, and so on. He's saying, act in a positive way, you will naturally get rid of selfishness, cunning, for your own benefit, etc. There'll be no need to be afraid. Fear comes from the fact that you know you're putting over something on the world, or you're lying and presenting a false face, and underneath you're always afraid that it'll be discovered. This happens. Try it. The story you gave to your teacher where the homework wasn't ready, maybe you got over, maybe it didn't. You're always worried about that. You're high stressed when you're delivering this speech. All right. Life becomes meaningful in households, communities, and nations large and small become happier. The key to it all is the development of compassion. There's a constant theme. Of course, he's Avalokiteshvara, so he's going to sell compassion, whether you like it or not. So, having compassion, concern, respect for their humanity, no matter what their status is in this society, and kindness for others not only benefits society, but is the most important factor for our own happiness. Politicians, religious leaders, and business people, or anyone, can strive to become good people with good minds. A single person endowed with the virtues of kindness, compassion, tolerance, and so on can definitely contribute to the happiness of families and society as a whole. Now he's giving you a little technique, and we'll explore. We did this before. For example, smiling is a natural and wonderful facial expression. Of course, sometimes even that wonderful expression can be misused by perverse thinking in order to ridicule or threaten. Sneer, That's sneering smiles. We don't want that. Some politicians smile out of necessity, but those aside, it can be seen how important it is in daily life to exchange smiles from the heart. Furthermore, when we meet someone, we should be the first to smile. And he is, if you ever watch. He comes on the screen, all of a sudden there's a big smile all over his face. And I know he's in pain sometimes. He had to have an operation on his knee. And he's old. He's in his high 80s. So, but he still puts out a smile. Furthermore, when we meet someone, we should be the first. Always wanting for the other to smile first is wrong. There are many similar situations that we should know about and which depend upon our mental attitude and actions. Now, take 3 breaths just to neutralize our mind and try this little thing. 1, 2, 3. Now, sitting still, looking at nothing, begin to crack the smile. Don't go like this, but just bring it in. Notice how it brightens the mind, how it changes the mind. That's an experiment. You prove it yourself. Try it in times of when you think you're going to be stressed or anything. Smile, slight smile, like the Buddha sometimes has this funny, playful smile. Very healthy. And it does put light into the mind. It makes you feel much better. External, this is on page 49 now. External progress can provide for physical comfort and to a certain extent can alleviate suffering. However, physical pleasure alone cannot satisfy the needs of human beings. You could do that as a meditation too when you're walking down the street. Where does physical pleasure come in? Where does mental pleasure come in? What's the hierarchy? You know, it's the mental, And he's going to give you a little lecture on that now, or a little kindly advice, let's put it that way. However, physical pleasure alone cannot satisfy the needs of human beings. Anyone who lives in dependence upon material factors can be wealthy, have good food and drink, a wonderful home and environment, good friends and relations. Yet, the many effects of a troubled mind, such as being plunged into grief, are not for the lack of conducive external circumstances. These arise from the mind. The most suffering is mental suffering, and we could probably prove that ourselves if we care to think back to different positions we've been in. Physical comfort cannot eclipse mental suffering, but mental happiness can override physical suffering. A sick man, nauseous man is not made happy by the sight of a wonderful meal put in front of him or her, sick woman, whatever. It doesn't work. You can think of it yourself. You were sick as a kid, your mother runs in with this and with that. I've seen kids throw things around. Ice cream, no, one of those deals. The no factor. This can be understood from the following. If you have an enthusiastic attitude towards achieving a particular goal by way of religion, politics, physical training, competitive sport, and so on, you have the ability to ignore any difficulties connected with that goal, such as pain, discomfort of illness, physical deprivation, and so on. Ballet dancers, any dancers, these people, sports figures, trying to break a record, swimmers, etc. They go through a lot of hell to get to the status that they want. So, moreover, with a joyful mind, happily embracing such hardships, no amount of pain is seen as a burden, but only as an adornment. Now, if you do have your motivation right, for instance, you meet a lot of trouble studying the Dharma. It's very hard sometimes. Hard to do your commitments, etc. Hard to work the mind to understand the point that doesn't come out, the meaning doesn't jump out of the page. So you know that. I don't have to tell you. Moreover, with a joyful mind, happily embracing such hardships, no amount of pain is seen as a burden, but only as an adornment. At such times, not only is there no discouragement, unhappiness in the mind, but such hardships become the causes for increasing our strength of mind and our level of tolerance. Eventually, our mental strength reaches new heights, and any physical discomfort is no longer felt. Mental qualities, by the way, as Holiness points out all the time, have no limit. There's a limit to how high you can jump, how long you can run, etc., and so forth. There's no limit to mental improvement. It doesn't have the same restrictions as physical requirements are. So that's something that the mind can be improved. What's the word they always use? Endlessly, whatever. Furthermore, being happy and relaxed, having an open and expansive mind, and other good mental states are preventatives against the onset of illness. This is the theme that they've been finding out through science also. This we all can see. Good and bad states of mind can comfort or discomfort the body. Or definitely discomfort. Nervousness pumps up the heart or whatever. And I'm sure you know more, Grace, than what nervousness and tension and anxiety do. I'm talking of you professionally, not you in your personal life. Honey. An agitated mind and the like can actually bring on sickness, the quote in the second paragraph on page 50. This we all can see. Good and bad states of mind can comfort or discomfort the body. They have the power to bring benefit and harm. They are very important. Physical comfort and discomfort alone are less important than our state of mind. The primacy of the mind is a theme that runs through the whole book. And the whole Rim, the old one, written from the religious point of view. However, and so although we might be undergoing hardships such as the torment of illness or being bereft of the basic necessities of life, we should nevertheless make the achievement of a peaceful, happy mind our prime objective. Sometimes Zen things in the midst of the fire, spooning cool water is one of their little sayings that they have. And then all this discomfort and everything, throw back to the mind, spoon cold water. There's a mental fire going on. Spoon cold water. They have a lot of ways of telling you a lot with 4 words, 5 words. That's what I like about that presentation. You can think about that. You have the power to do that. The more you train your mind, the more you can call on it to bring you to the right comfort level mentally. Who likes that? Being in that position, have to invoke that, but it'd be better if we didn't have to. That's the case, Our prime objection then should be mental quality. The importance of mental cognition, a heading on page 50, midway. And we will take a break to drink some water. I was told to drink water by 10,000 doctors and nurses who have shares in a water company. No, I'm always suspicious. Darren, are we getting out good?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Alleviating suffering and pursuing happiness with reliance upon physical feeling is an undertaking we share with animals. That's all the animals. This cat here wants to eat, sleep, play with a ball and everything. However, this unique capacity of the brain ensures that we humans have a special ability. The happiness and suffering produced in reliance upon mental cognition is much greater in humans. Mental feelings of joy and pain brought on by expectations and apprehension and the great variety of concepts are also more numerous. These feelings will not be augmented or reduced simply by money, medicine, and so on. It's primarily sustained by sustained practice in our way of thinking. Sustained practice in our way of thinking. He's not mentioning meditation on this deed or that or your good morality. He's just saying, be careful of the mind, train it. You should master the mind. It shouldn't master you. Because if you let the mind master you, it's all your past karma coming up, all the things you did there. You're jumping here, there. You're not steady. It's hard to reach some kind of steadiness and the way you want it to be. But you have to achieve that goal. That's a must for mental development. You cannot be, the tail wagging the dog, we'd use that. That's a cheap one. But it can't be run by your mind. You have to run it. It is primarily by sustained practice in our way of thinking that we lessen suffering and develop happiness. That's a bomb. Sustained. practice in our way of thinking that we lessen suffering and develop happiness. It's achievable. The formula is there. The application of it, okay, it's not easy. You don't do it for 10 minutes and you're done. But it's worth it. Because human beings possess the faculty and skill of the intellect, bottom of page 50, by endeavoring to reduce the suffering created by thoughts. Do we have sufferings created by thoughts? Only you could say for sure about yourself. I say it about myself. And to increase our happiness, we can definitely steer our minds toward a peaceful, happy, and non-harming state. We can say that such a transformation is the duty of those possessed of human intellects. He's telling you that's your job, that's your destiny to be a Buddha, etc. Why are you standing in the way? We have some exercises that are no harder than going to work. So, and we put up with that. So how can humans attain their desired happiness? Yeah, tell us. This involves explaining a little of the underlying philosophy of the above points. Desiring to increase our feelings of happiness and to free ourselves of unhappiness is a desire that naturally arises, of course, which we can understand without resorting to logical proof. It's natural. We don't have to do this and that. It is not confined to humans. Even ants have this desire. Moreover, the arising of feelings of happiness and suffering is connected with the thought of I. He's subtly presenting the Buddhist view of selflessness. Very skillful. He's not mentioning a Buddhist word at all. But look at it. On this basis, desire for feelings of happiness and aversion to feelings of suffering is naturally present. So we have the thought of I, and we want this I to be happy. He's not dismantling I. What is it? Where is it? Is it around the corners, in your mind, in your body? He's just saying, work from that basis. Don't get too tied up in where it is. That's later. We can analyze these feelings of happiness and suffering in more detail. For example, pleasant feelings, attractive to the mind, are induced through the five sensory consciousnesses, in which the eyes see beautiful form, the ears hear pleasant sounds, the nose experiences delightful aromas, not on the subway, by the way. The tongue experiences delicious tastes. The body experiences sensation of softness and so on. All right, we got to understand that. These are all pleasant physical feelings. Through the five sensory objects, unpleasant feelings or suffering unattractive to the mind are also induced. Yes, we can vouch for that. Remember the high school cafeteria food? Right there. So, there are also sufferings brought on by illness that are based upon physical feelings. There is no long-lasting satisfaction and happiness arising from sensory consciousness alone. You could take that to the bank. There is no long-lasting satisfaction and happiness arising from sensory consciousness alone. They all fade. And you can overload the senses, on and on. We can do that. And people do, and then they wonder why they're all screwed up. Mainly, we need real happiness in the mind, or just happiness in the mind. True happiness is mental happiness. There's a bumper sticker. True happiness is mental happiness, which does not depend on sensory consciousness feelings. One may accumulate the wonderful conditions for providing pleasant physical feelings, but there is no guarantee that they will eradicate the sufferings within mental cognition. You could set it up that there's no guarantee it's going to work. It's the nature of the beast, the physical, in this desire realm that we all live in. Now, some of us don't. They're probably higher up, but just faking it. So, for example, I know someone who was well educated, surrounded by all material needs, with wealth over $1 million US, which I guess these days isn't wealth. I don't know. He has no concerns for food and provisions. He is highly regarded. His work situation is excellent, yet he says he is completely unhappy. I often meet rich people like him. Top of page 52, another big point. Suffering associated with mental cognition comes through the causal factor of conceptualization. Suffering associated with mental cognition comes through the causal factor of conceptualization. That's loaded. You can meditate on that. For example, suffering is conceived as happiness, or the impermanent is held to be permanent. These are, the things that define a Buddhist. These are mistaken ways of mentally apprehending, completely out of tune with reality, and they result in thoughts of hope and expectation, which in turn produce anxiety and fear and other difficult emotions. That is something that is a good formula, presentation of a good formula for happiness there. Why are we suffering? We overconceptualize. And we mistake. The conceptualizations are false. They'll say that even what the common person calls pleasure is called suffering. A more subtle form. There's outright suffering. Then there's the suffering of change, where you dance all night long and then it wears out. There's no pleasure in it. You eat this and that. You drink, you smoke this or that. It doesn't maintain. It's not stable. It doesn't have a stable base. And then it causes craving for it next time. It causes wrong thinking while you're in those states. True, we have to enjoy ourselves. Go to the movies, go to a concert, etc. But don't put weight on it that doesn't naturally have, because you'll be disappointed. That's it. These are mistaken ways of mentally apprehending, completely out of tune with reality, and they result in thoughts of hope and expectation, which in turn produce anxiety and fear and other difficult emotions, including craving to see it again and again. And those conditions don't always solve. Oh, we had a great time at the lake. We're going next week. Oh, yeah. Well, the next time may not be that hot. Because maybe you laid it out in your mind as something that's, oh, super. And it ain't. It's not. You put it with that in normal English. Pride, jealousy, competitiveness, desire, anger, and so on are mental phenomena, and therefore they must arise from mental cognition. Mental cognition, if you control your mind, you can defeat those things. So you're really getting a nice blueprint without blueprint, excuse me. Blue Point is where Darren's from, right? Getting a nice blueprint of what the situation really is. The suffering that arises by way of mental cognition is more prevalent in humans than in animals. Among humans, those who have lesser intellects, those who are poorly educated, this is a bland across-the-board statement, those who are beggars or live in poverty have less envy, competitiveness, and pride, and in their minds the procession of hopes and fears is probably less. Maybe. He'll explain. Consequently, it also seems that if their mental suffering is less. On the other hand, mental suffering, they probably have great physical suffering, but the next thing is I get this food, they sort of operate on that level. Very poor people. Well, we used to have classes on the Bowery right down the block. There's the Bowery Mission where homeless people go, alcoholics mainly, the old-fashioned. And they're just happy to get the meal, say amen, have a warm place to sleep, and then that's it. They don't have much mental acuity after all the years of abuse. And we've watched them over the years. We've been there 12 years. It's sad, but it bears out this statement. They have less mental suffering. Who knows why? Consequently, it seems that mental suffering is less. On the other hand, those who have been well educated, who enjoy excellent living standards, and can have greater aversion and envy. They can. He's not saying it's necessary, but they can have greater aversion and envy. With competitiveness, pride, and so on, they can develop the attitude of victory for oneself, the hell with others, or defeat for others. You can say that. This leads to a misuse of the power of the intellect. And their suffering created in dependence upon mental cognition is that much stronger. I may not fail, I may not do this, they hold themselves to very competitive standards. The business world is a lot like that, especially among the investment class. Sad. This search for the remedy to alleviate those sufferings that arise from the intellect and mental cognition must take place in the very mind from which they arise. That's the battleground. That's it. In fact, in the real Islam, jihad is not taking a gun and shooting somebody. It's fighting in your mind against these evil, we can call them evil, but these faulty mental states. That's the real jihad. It's a much more sophisticated religion than the media gives it credit for, or the lower level preachers, imams give it credit. Some are very good. I mean, read some of the Sufi literature. It's very close to Buddhist mysticism. So it takes place in the mind from which it will not be found in other humans or external objects. Just thinking, God knows, is also not helpful. Likewise, kindness, compassion, and other qualities of the mind will only arise from within mental cognition and cannot be created by the efforts of external phenomena. If you went to the market and said, sell me some love and compassion, everyone will regard that as ridiculous. If you went to a hospital and said, give me an injection of love and compassion, someone might, by the way, charge you, but there's no sense. So be careful, boys and girls. People would wonder if you were crazy. I mean, people would know. Love and compassion cannot be gotten from others. You have to develop them yourself within your own mind. You could take others as a model, but you have to do it yourself. You have to plant the seed in your mind. Not just admire the other guy's feels and that'll cause me to be compassionate. No. If we turn our attention to that fact, we can know how to bring the mental feelings of peace and happiness to our minds. So you got to do a little work. It's not pick and shovel. It's mental work. The rewards are greater. And you don't sweat, well, maybe you do. So page 53 we go to now with heavy heart. No, with light heart. The effect of love and compassion upon health. And this is the theme. It weaves through the whole book, I've noticed. So he's using good psychology. He's getting people who are always concerned with their health and a little, carrot here. That you want to be healthy? We have the way. And then he proves it with his arguments. So even though the body is suffering, in the mind, feeling of peace and happiness can be experienced. The body is suffering, but there are feelings of peace and happiness in the mind. And this depends on, again, how well educated you are in these ideas, your desire to implement them, and the degree of implementation. But it can be done. There are many high practitioners who are really suffering from cancer, and a couple of them, no, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong. The mind has overridden the body. We could sure use that. On the other hand, even if the body is completely free from any kind of suffering, the mind can still abide in a state of deep unhappiness. And because of that, eventually, the body too will come to suffer. He's giving the same message. And I think, you think about it yourself, walking around, whatever, you don't have to sit like this, your back straight and staring at the wall. That's nice, if you can handle it. But just as you're walking around in life, you run these thoughts through your mind. They will affect you. Just thinking about them will affect you. Therefore, if we make ourselves unhappy with an angry mind and so on, then it goes without saying that we need to cultivate a mind of compassion as an antidote. So there it is, compassion as the antidote and the ultimate antidote, universal antidote to an angry mind. A jealous mind, the whole thing. It's a one all-purpose cleaner. A peaceful and happy feeling in our mind is beneficial for all. It does affect people around you. It is something we can experience every day. For example, two people who face the same difficulty may have different attitudes toward it. One can face it with a little effort, but the other can't. Both situations arise from a particular way of looking at the problem, which arises from the proper conceptualization of the situation, which you come about by your internal thinking or reading or whatever. Spend some time with these ideas. First of all, you should say, is this true? Is this a lot of baloney? You have to do that. You have to activate a little of your skepticism. Because first of all, that'll keep you on the topic. Because skepticism has a way of like, what's going on here? You're very alert when you go shopping for something you really need, and there's some choice. You're very alert. You're questioning, is this a piece of junk? Is this one? This one is. That part of the mind has to be activated. It's naturally very bright. He's made himself home. I'm talking about the cat. All right, enough with the cat. Whether you are religious, non-religious, or anti-religious, as long as you wish for a healthy body, a happy life, and a long life, you should value attitudes of kindness, affection, tolerance, contentment, and so on, as you would value your life. That's heavy. He's not saying, so people, non-religious, etc., it's very important to value these kindness, affection, tolerance, etc. Compassion and the motivation of helping others, which are innate and fundamental to our human nature, are the foundation of such development. Recognizing this is crucial, and everyone should take this to heart. Now, don't be frightened of the word innate. There's nothing innate. Everything's yeah. In this way, it's not used that way. That meaning is not activated in this context. So don't be afraid of the word innate. In its right context, it's very useful. It tells you how important it is. Hey, everyone should take this to heart. To do that, we should know the workings of a mental cognition, what types of mind bring peace and what types bring trouble and disturbance. How do you do that? You pay attention to your mind. You become aware of what's going on. You become mindful. That's a tool that everyone, religious or not, actually needs. So, to do that, we should bring the workings of a mental cognition, what types of mind bring peace and what types bring trouble and disturbance, and work to lessen the strength of those types of mind that increase suffering, and to develop those that have the power to grow a genuine happiness. If you don't pay attention to your mind, you have to be intense every second. I gotta watch the mind. Oh, I stepped on a bug. No. But realize where the winds are blowing in your mind. Sometimes your emotions will key you. Why do I feel anxious? Why this? Take a break. Bring the mind to as neutral space as you can, and then think of what could have caused this. You may not succeed at first, but the attitude of going in there and looking inside the mind and seeing what you can do slowly bears fruit. You get a more feeling of confidence that you can conquer this. I don't know what, but let me work on this. Everything's workable. We're humans. We're very fortunate to reach this place. So, and it ain't gonna last. Sorry for the colloquialism. It ain't gonna last. To do that, we should know the workings of mental cognition, what types of mind bring peace, etc. Worth gold, this kind of advice. It is not enough just to know about the wonderful qualities of a peaceful mind. We must make efforts to cultivate them within ourselves, actualize them. How do you do that? Well, first of all, think of the benefits of having a peaceful mind and the faults of not having it. That'll get you going. Yeah? Those whose minds are troubled can avail themselves to therapists, who are widely accessible these days. The causes of unhappiness are sought, counseling is lovingly provided, and essential points are discussed, and advice and ways for finding a peaceful mind are given. However, the crucial element is to try to change our daily thoughts and habits from those that are in direct opposition to kindness and compassion. So he's not saying don't go to a therapist. I've also heard him say that those who are severely troubled in mind will need drugs, mental, whatever therapeutic drugs there are, for a while till it's stabilized. Sometimes you must bring it to stabilization with chemicals. So he advises people, go to a good psychiatrist or a good therapist. It's a temporary measure to calm things down so you could look into stuff. And here it is. Our daily thoughts and habits from those that are in direct opposition to kindness and compassion. That's easy to find. Is that a kind thought? I want to kill this guy? Wait a minute. I want him to not have a good job. I want to get him out. Is that a kind thought? You know what that does? Nothing to him. You're not that kind of powerful. It affects you. It doesn't affect the other person. You think it does, and maybe you feel get your jollies off. What's going to happen? I'm going to throw him this. I'm going to make sure he doesn't get a promotion. Blah, 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 which we hear all the time. You're in for trouble because though you generating those thoughts, they will have their effect. Not on the other guy, on you. So it's to your advantage to bear this in mind. In Tibet, the innate qualities of kindness and compassion were traditionally taught to be great medicine with beneficial effects on the health of mind and body, and contemporary developments in medicine that point to the value of kindness and compassion for good health bears testimony to that. Yes, there's been all kinds of work, including fMRI view of the brain as it develops compassion, and it thinks otherwise, etc. It's coming together. There's no great answers yet, but there is collaboration on certain thoughts do bring certain physical mental states in the brain. And exposure to these beneficial mental states over time actually changes the brain, the neural pathways and things like that. Not paying attention to the horrible thoughts will cause those neural pathways to atrophy and go out of business. This has been proved with scientific instruments. So there's a lot of literature on it. I don't have that in that hand, but you can look this up when you have nothing else to do. Actually, what else is more important than figuring out what the mind does? Nothing. The mind goes on. It's eternal. It's not something that could die. Consciousness, that is. However, the crucial element is to try to change our daily thoughts and habits from those that are in direct opposition to kindness and compassion. In Tibet, and contemporary developments collaborate this, that compassion is thought of as medicine, more or less. If a doctor, no matter how skilled, I'm on the second paragraph of page 54, mid-paragraph, if a doctor, no matter how skilled they are, administers treatment thinking only of their own benefit, no, they wouldn't do that. Maybe, I don't know. With little feeling of kindness toward the patient, without expressing empathy, patience, and consideration or respect, the beneficial effect will be weak. In other words, he's saying we're so connected that the mental attitude of the doctor bears on the efficacy of the treatment. You can answer that question, I can't. So that you can think about that and think, wait a minute, why does that happen? Well, we're more connected than we think. Funny. On the contrary, treatment from those doctors who administer to their patients with kindness and compassion has greater effect. This we can all see. Moreover, American doctors have told me that about 12% of the population of the USA have mental health problems, and that the prime cause of their illness is not a lack of material resources, but comes from not receiving love and affection from others. From this, too, we can see that the greatest happiness comes from kindness and compassion. Is he orchestrating that point around the block up and down? Of course he is, because it's natural. And what do we have to do? We have to see if it's true or not. Oh, yeah, the Dalai Lama is so sweet. He said, come on, man. Prove it to yourself. And how do you prove it? See how your mind changes over time, contemplating these thoughts, paying attention to these thoughts. When you see that, there's nothing stopping you. I proved it myself in my own mental laboratory. Then you're on the trail very well. Sniff it out, guys. 12%, I bet it's higher these days. I don't know. It's a lot, though. The importance of the intellect. The bottom paragraph let me check the time. Okay, we got 12 minutes. Bottom paragraph on page 54, bottom section, actually. It is certainly not necessary for everyone to have faith in a religion or to hold a particular philosophy. Here's a Buddhist philosopher and a religious person saying this. It's certainly not necessary. Very good. I like the honesty. To hold a particular philosophy. But being determined and aspiring to increase kindness and compassion is definitely necessary. He's not saying it's a nice thing. He's saying it's definitely necessary. With the background of the idea that our minds are not developed. Our minds are really Buddha minds and have to be, all the things covering these qualities have to be removed. But we're not mentioning Buddhism here. So we'll just continue. So being determined and aspiring to increase kindness and compassion is definitely necessary. These are the wonderful features of being a human and are jewels of the mind. Buddhist texts state that human beings are a higher species in this world and that this human form is more precious than the forms of other beings. This is because the potential for kindness and compassion, as well as the seeds of of good character and intellect are naturally and innately a part of us from the moment of birth, regardless of any societal environment. We have this. We have the seed of Buddha, if you want to put it that way, in a religious form, which he's restricting himself to mentioning too often. We possess the very special and fundamental qualities of being able to bring happiness not only to ourselves, but also to others, if we're properly trained. That's what we're going about now. The seeds of that virtuous human behavior are present in everyone, save possibly for those who have suffered certain forms of brain damage. However, whether or not those seeds produce this happiness depends upon making use of them with the skills of the intellect. Now, this point of brain damage, yes, in this life, but that person is reborn. That consciousness still has the seed of Buddhahood. So don't rule everything out. If he has brain damage, that's it, he's done. No. We know, for instance, that consciousness can't die. We know that it goes on. We know that certain things we do karmically can result in a very good, undamaged brain in our next human life. So we have to think of this now. If you don't know that, be skeptical, say there's a lot of crap, blah, 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 and try, but look into it. Don't just leave it there like that. I don't know. Even you say, I don't know, but let me see. Don't ever throw anything out until you have certainty. They call it certainty. And that certainly you'll know, certainty, you will know by the ease of motivation to do certain things. You're sort of convinced. There's no mental blocks. I hope. Haven't realized this yet, but it sounds good. Certain things you get more confident in. I remember all the things I didn't believe when I started in Buddhism. Slowly, some of them, yeah, it's true. So, we possess the very special and fundamental qualities of being able to bring happiness not ourselves but to others. We do not brain damage. Okay. Our intellect not ought to be a tool for destruction, and we should contemplate and understand that it is not to be misused. Whether we generate the happiness we long for, create unwanted suffering or mental torment, depends on how we use our intellect. You got to be aware of how you're using your intellect. So how do you use it? First, but be aware of this move and that move, the small thoughts that create a motivation and an action. You got to look in on those things. Just watching them. That'll bring them up clearer. Whether we generate the happiness we long for, create unwanted sufferings or mental torment, depends on how we use our intellect. Whether the customs, laws, and regulations found in religion, politics, economics, and so on is a force for good or bad depends upon how the individuals who are responsible for these make use of their intellect. Even a good system, when misused, instead of bringing benefit, can become a cause for harm. Yes. We can see many examples of this these days, yes. Very bright scientists who create weapons of destruction. They should know better. These weapons indiscriminately kill everything. Children, enemies, criminals, whatever. It's really crazy. What kind of a mind thinks these things and goes ahead with it? I don't know. So, religion has potential to help people to live in a state of meaningful happiness even in this life. However, if that religion is misused, it too becomes a cause for strife and division. Even in international sports, there are cases of corruption that put the honest endeavor of sport unnecessarily at risk. These all come from the perverse actions of humans. And yes, we know that. We can divide up the human species in terms of race, color of skin, language, religion, gender, wealth, and so on, but the reality is that we are the same. This is verified by modern science. Same way the brains think, and so we can go on. We're not going to bore you with that. In short, the relationships between married couples, friends, households, communities, and even countries depend mainly upon the strength of kindness and compassion. Did he repeat that enough? I think so. On the level or absence of resentment on the interest of resentment, a level of absence of resentment on the interest taken in the harm or benefit that occurs to others, on the level of responsibility that puts the welfare of others between oneself and so on. How many people care about others all the time? That alone is a big victory. If you are one of these people that reflexively thinks of others first, you're a big star, to say the least. I mean, to put it in a cheap way, but you are. You're very important. You're very well developed. That's spirituality. States of mind such as hostility, suspicion, or expressions of are expressions of the misuse of the intellect. Hostility, suspicion is a misuse of the intellect. They have no value or good qualities. They will destroy attitudes related to any decent and ethical way of being and are a prime cause of others mistrusting us. So we'll leave it on that. And this is 56. Okay. So next time we meet, we'll take it up from there. You have any comments, Grace? Complaints? No? Oh, come on. Don't be so cooperative. Do we have names, Darren? No names. So you can pray for whoever you wish. Those recently killed people in the Middle East. And we won't go on with the 4 and everything else, but you know the world. It's been reported accurately. One of the good things about the modern media presence, it's all over the world and it gets to everybody. So you read carefully and look carefully. You know where we stand as humans. The Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings. The unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans, is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings, the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely liberated and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues and the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. You should think of this as that what you are going to attain. And imagine that you've already attained it. These are the qualities of the Buddha, some of them. Isn't that nice to strive for that? The holy Dharma, the qualities of the Dharma, is good at the beginning, good in the middle, good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted, it is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. And you should think that having confidence in the Dharma will help you pay more attention to it. That it has qualities. As for the Sangha, those people of the great Yana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. In other words, generosity towards them will give you great merit and will advance you more quickly on the spiritual path. This was added on. These verses here was added on in Tibet. This is not part of the original Sutra of the Recollection of the Three Jewels. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the low realms, this alone is the supreme, ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So our final component, as we have every time we meet, is the prayer for a swift return, written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Yeah, the great Dalai Lama. For the swift return of our teacher, Rato Chungla Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop. Refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lozang Tabwang Doje Chang. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lozang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Rhetorical question. Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return as the glory of Lozang Tempe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala Karmayama and Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlike faith. By the way, today is Ling Rinpoche's birthday, his 39th birthday. And I feel very old because not only do I remember when he was reborn, but I remember when he died. But I remember praying, I said, you pray for Serkan Rinpoche and Ling Rinpoche. I don't know. Is this going to happen? Is this going to really... Well, they both were reborn. And they both returned to their previous roles of great high lamas. So if people want to, they can email Ling Rinpoche's office, wish him a happy birthday, or just pray for his continued long life. He is the full director of our center now, so his well-being is our well-being, and that's that. And who doesn't want well-being? We're so selfish. Our next class will be Wednesday night here at the Parsonage in South Orange, New Jersey. If you wish to come, you're welcome. There's refreshments, and the instructions are on our website page, how to get here from various points. Nicholas Vreeland, the local director of this center, will be here Thursday. He's returning home. Thursday, he will do the next 2 classes next week, Monday night and Wednesday night. So he returns with tales of daring do from India and Rome. So maybe influence the Pope, I don't know. So thank you very much for your considerate attention, your patience. Big love to all of you. He's quiet now. He's down for the count.
We
We're out?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Darren. Very